Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video.
Well, hey everybody, welcome back to a Friday. In fact, the last Friday of July 2024 here at Giga Texas. And as I mentioned last week, they have a new production shift schedule. So Fridays, there's no production going on. So there's not a lot of activity when it comes to vehicles. There is a lot of construction going on today, and you'll see that in the video. But I thought I would do something a little different for this introduction. I've had a lot of people recently asking me more about my drones and what do I use. So I thought I would talk briefly about that. Now, I have covered this in the past, but this is a good review. Now, a couple of things before I get the drones and before I even get here to Giga Texas, I have to do a few things in preparation. That goes beyond just checking the weather and the lighting and that kind of thing. I also do get FAA approval for each and every flight. And I do that through an app on my phone or on my iPad. And I do that about a month in advance. I kind of do it in batch mode. I have a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I have a start and ending time. Also, I have a geofenced location that I have to set around Giga Texas, and then I put all that information into the app for each flight, and then the FAA approves that. That also includes altitudes. We are pretty close to the Class C airspace for the international airport. In fact, a big portion of Giga Texas is directly underneath that. So in addition to having my Part 107 license to fly the drones, I also do need to get that FAA approval for each flight. Once I do that, I also have to go into my drone app, in this case DJI, and I have to input the certificates for each time that I take off. So that means every time I come back for a battery swap or anything where I have to reset the drone, I have to initialize those certificates. Now, as far as the drones are concerned, I have 3 of them. I've used these throughout my 4 years of flying. I started off with my small one. This is the DJI Mini 2, and it's small but mighty. It does do everything in 4K. It allows me to get a closer in shot with the same screen size and resolution than I can with my bigger drones. It doesn't have as much performance, but it does allow me to be more deliberate in my flying when I'm close into things. It's also a lot less noisy, so it doesn't disrupt the activity that's going on. Now, my next drone that I flew for probably 3 years as my high performance drone is my DJI Air 2. And this one has a lot more performance, also 4K. It has a bunch of other features as well, some of which are related to airspace, something called ADS-B, which is automatic dependent surveillance broadcast. So I can pick up aircraft. I don't transmit, but I can pick that up. It also has something called remote ID, which is a way of transmitting the location of the drone and my controller. Now, I upgraded from my Air 2 to my Air 3 about a year ago. And this one is extremely powerful. It has a lot of performance, a lot of climbing, and just horizontal speed. It has some lenses, 2 of them. One of them is an optical 70 millimeter lens, and that gives me really great close-in views, even from a far distance. I also have digital zoom on top of that. This one also has ADS-B, and it also has the remote ID. And I use this one a lot just because the quality, the clarity, the performance, and also the close-in views, even from a distance, are outstanding with this drone. The last thing that I use is my controller, which is matched up to each of the drones. And I use an iPad for my control, just because it's a much larger image, and this allows me to be able to see a lot more of what I'm doing. I am able to visualize where I'm flying on the iPad at the same time that I am flying it with the controller. Now, one thing that I just want to let you know, you might notice in my videos, sometimes I have transitions between shots. And that could be because of battery swaps, but it's also because the drones don't have the ability to take pictures and do video at the same time. So I have to stop the video, take a picture, and then resume. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this really quick look at my equipment, what I do, and sort of a background about the drone flying here at Giga Texas. And I hope that you found that interesting. So without further ado, let's get the drone in the air and let's fly around and see what Giga Texas looks like on this last Friday of July.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. Clouds come and go throughout the morning here at Giga Texas, but fortunately the flying weather is pretty nice. And we're going to start here on the west side at the end-of-line facility in the outbound lot. We do see some of the Cybertrucks getting in queue to go through the end-of-line facility here on the north end. I think that what they're really doing is they're going through some of their inventory that's stored here on this north lot. While production is down for the day. They're also doing some of the preparation for Model Ys that are stored here as well to try to get through that inventory, get a lot of those transported off-site, and where part of the factory is still open and operational, like say castings, for example, those are being produced and getting ready for next week. So there's a lot of activity. It's just a little different with the new shift schedule. But a great view here of all of the Cybertrucks that are stored on this west side of the north end, the outbound lot. Now, I did notice this very interesting covered trailer that they're loading this Cybertruck in. I thought I would come down lower and give you some great views of this. This is a little unusual. This is not normally what we see the Cybertrucks or any of the vehicles being transported in. Usually they're on the trucks like you see in the top center of the screen. But I thought that this was quite interesting, and I wanted to get you some close-in views of what was going on. So if anybody has an idea, let me know in the comments of the video. But while we're here, I'm going to fly up over this roadway, and we're going to take a look at this material staging yard. There is a lot of materials and some of these kind of trailers that are used for equipment storage. And everything from spools of wire to pipe segments to steel items. Another EDRA delivery here at the bottom right of the screen. We have cooling units in that white and blue on the left. A lot of pipe work next to this orange and white tent, which is a fabrication workshop for pipes, and a lot of different kinds of pipes and tanks on this south end. Not only that, but we see some superchargers, some of the old glass, and more of those pipe segments that are for the baghouse filtration system that's being installed on the east side of the casting machine structure. We do see all of these steel items being stored in this section in the upper right. And it suggests that we will see construction somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where, and it's something I am monitoring. More of the steel corrugated pipe and concrete segments on the left-hand side of this triangular clearing. And as I turn the drone back to the north, this gives you a good overall view here of this west support facility, which includes the West Warehouse on Wheels, which is right in the middle of the screen. And of course, a great view across the highway to the main factory and that south extension. But I'm going to bring the drone down here. One of the things I want to show you is the concrete segments that are part of the tunnel roadway surface liner. Most of them have been moved into the tunnel. There are very few left. You can see some of those wooden shoring on the either side of the road. That was where all of those panels were stored. And right now we see this blue front end loader picking up a few of those panels that have those access openings so that workers can get into the utilities that would be underneath. But this indicates that a significant amount of that roadway surface inside the tunnel has now been installed. So while we are here at the tunnel opening on this west side, I'll give you a close low-end view of what this looks like right now. And most of the supporting infrastructure, the grout silos, the power, the spoils basin, the belt cassette, all of that has been removed. All we have left is a few of these trailers and, of course, some of the temporary electrical system. You can see that on the bottom left, and some of the remnants of the initial tunnel boring machine setup, concrete, where they had that thrust ring. And with that worker coming out, you can get a good view of the size, some of those pipes at the bottom 1/8 of the tunnel, and somewhere farther in is where that roadway surface will be. So soon this will be to the point where they can put the front end or the exit point concrete structures and make those operational. So it's getting close. And we are getting also close to the end of July, which is when the boring company said it would be operational. So we shall see if they can meet that schedule. But as I bring the drone up, we can see more of the outbound lot, those tents where they do some of the processing of the vehicles, the south supercharger, and that large clearing where I'm expecting some more asphalt at some point in the near future. So let's cross over the highway and we resume on the other side, and we're going to fly up over the roof today and head to the south end. I want to show you what the extension looks like from this vantage point. Also get a inspection of the work that's being done on some of the solar panels that make the A of Tesla, and of course the continued work on the roof with the insulating panels. And also they have a membrane that's being placed. It is a semi-porous membrane. It helps with drainage, and that is being installed between some of the layers of the insulation. But this is a great view of how this is looking right now. The darker gray colored section is directly over where the supercomputer cluster is being installed on the inside. As we pull away to the east, a good view of that east side of the extension. We'll come back for closer views of that soon. Also wanted to show you the east side of stamping, the recycled trailers, those black trailers that take the stamping scraps and recycle them, and more of the east side of the building. And a good view of the multi-level parking garage. You can see the buses arriving. That is to pick up the workers who are parking here, and they shuttle them into the factory to begin their work. The clearing on the east side, it looks like it's graded, is completed, so hopefully we'll see some asphalt at some point in the near future. And at the bottom of the screen, we can see the preparation work continuing for that intersection between Robotic Avenue and River Road, on directly over those steel corrugated pipes to allow that drainage. As we fly along the extension of River Road at the bottom of the screen, more of the glass company workshop and materials, and of course the surface that is not paved but is being used for traffic. The lined pond has a lot of water in it because of all the rains that we've continued to have in the area. Now, the cooling plant has had a lot of work on the ground floor with more of the electronic equipment. Pipe work is being installed, and also some pumps, I believe. The fan units have been completed with their shrouds and their motors. And of course, the side of the cooling tower has those openings to allow the airflow to cool the water. Now I'm going to bring the drone back to give you just an overall view of the factory and this south end, and then we will proceed back in to take a closer look at the large water pipes that are being installed between the extension on the left and the cooling tower on the right. So as I maneuver over the power lines, I will give you a bird's eye view down at these large water pipes, also the blocks, the concrete blocks that have been placed at strategic points around the pipe all the way through into the extension, and that is to help prevent the pipes from moving or rupturing due to water hammer effect because of the water flow on the inside. And here's a great view of how those manifolds are coming together next to the ground floor of the cooling plant. Some of the concrete vaults, also concrete cylindrical sections that are being prepared for installation, and some additional pipes on that ground floor being placed into those mounts with those similar circular cutouts, and that gives us an idea what that will look like when it is completed. More pipe segments on the ground waiting for their opportunity to be installed. And as I continue to maneuver around the southeast corner, we can see more items are being placed onto the roof with this crane. It's most likely more of the insulation panels, but this work is continuing to make sure that they have what they need on the roof. Now, the south end is continuing to have some interesting developments. We can see the concrete and the form work in front of each of the tunnels. The central tunnel has got this large formwork. Concrete's already been poured, and we can see kind of this stair-step approach at the end closest to the silt fence and the cyber pond, which I'm flying directly over. This is a great view of the work that is underway. They are also putting in more rebar, and the workers give you a good sense of scale. Now, this tunnel and the other two extend pretty much about halfway through the structure, and then they end in what may be elevators, although I'm not 100% sure about that. More of the rebar on the ground on the right being prepared for the forms, and I'm expecting similar form work on each of the tunnels, including this one here. You can see the screw type pairs tops and the form work where the rebar will make the pile cap. Now, the southwest corner cleared section is now getting what looks to be a roadway kind of placed inside that graded area. We'll get a closer view of that here in a second. And we do see additional excavation work along the berm and the south bridge. I do believe that this is still related to the fiber optic cables that have been installed the entire length of this berm. As I turn back to the southwest corner, the new opening where I think it's going to be another entrance and this graded section, that roadway is really starting to take shape. You can see how it is going to tie into the existing road where the vehicles are traveling now and allow access onto the south end of this structure. Now, if that's permanent or if that's just for workers, that'll be something that we will have to see. Here's a good look into this opening and how it looks right now on the inside, and some of the materials and equipment that is being stored out here along with all of the latrines. Now, the west side is getting some more of those deliveries of the HVAC ductwork, as you can see on that truck. And this is a great view on the inside, both ground floor and second floor of the materials. Also, it looks like a break room of sorts at this bottom right by the perimeter grade beam. You can see those tears and tables. And of course, on this platform is the supercomputer cluster, and it does look like there may be some equipment being installed on that mezzanine level that could be consistent with what we heard at the second quarter financial results meeting, where they said that they were starting to install some of the data cluster. There's a great view in the center of the screen in where the boring tunnel is located, and more work is being done there to complete that tunnel and then do that concrete facing structure so that it can become operational. And more looks into this portion of the factory with some of the interior walls and more of the trench work on the ground floor next to the original exterior wall. And a great view of this activity on this portion of the factory. More of the excavators here where we've seen pipe work extend out from the extension across the road and near the gray trailers on the left. There are a few Cybertrucks here, but not a whole lot. Again, this is not a production day, so they're probably just going through some last of the inventory right now. So let's fly to the north along the west side of General Assembly and the west main entrance. And let's take a look at the work that is going on up here, and a great view of the entrance. The trapezoid stone glass, kind of the curbs next to the roadway, have been replaced. They've had some problems with those panels falling off, and there was about 3 of them replaced recently. And here is the exit point for the Model Ys. These are being driven over to the end-of-line facility on the west side, and trying to look in through the openings and these ramps. You can see that there's no lights for those inspection tunnels that were used for inspecting the paint. So the operations have moved over to the west end of line. As we continue to fly to the north along this part of the factory, just taking a look at the dirt and the work that may be commencing here soon on that section where all the concrete has been removed. And then here at the 4680 section, I did notice that there was some sort of a trailer and maybe a tank unit on the inside, plus a temporary or portable air conditioning unit. And so here's a good close-in view of how that looks here today. And I think we'll wrap up on this side of the building and pass over that black wrapped Cybertruck, and we'll resume on the north end. We see a truck bringing more of those blue cooler units. Those have ice and drinks for workers, and those are placed around the entire work site. And a good view of the north end of the 4680 with those semi-permanent walls that have been placed, especially underneath those platforms, and some of the white stain. As we cross the front of the plastics and paint shop, it's a great view of how this end looks today. And of course, we see more of the castings and the covered new 3 receiving doors as work continues to finish out those new doorways. And another good look at all of the castings here. And it looks like there's 3 of these kind of black items next to the wall. I'm not sure exactly what those are, but those are new. And we see pipes being fabricated here in this kind of temporary workshop location. I think that this is related to the baghouse filtration plant, but that'll be something I have to monitor. More of the saw cutting of the concrete apron at the bottom of the screen, and that continues what we saw in my previous video. Of course, the mud base, the conduit, and this raised center section next to the brand new doorway that was cut into the wall on the right. Some more formwork as well. And we see a tank has been delivered next to the steel structure. And I think that will be either permanent location with those walls around it is kind of a moat to prevent it from leaking, or it will be relocated. We'll see how that goes. And the galvanized steel structure, how it looks today with some of the units that have been installed on those pads at the bottom left of the screen, and some more items have been delivered. Of course, these very tall filtration units and the entry ductway, that looks like a lot of that work is now completed. We can see those kind of hex slabs on the left-hand side of the screen. I expect to see more tanks, maybe similar to the ones, if not exactly the ones that we saw over on the west side. As I bring the drone down around the power lines, it's a good view of the baghouse filtration plant, how it looks today, all of the castings, and of course that clearing on the right-hand side of the screen, and how this entire section of the factory looks as it continues to transform. As I fly over the east parking lot and the turbo roundabout, give you a good view of the testing calibration lot, or at least what's remaining of it. As I mentioned previously, all of the Model Ys are employee vehicles just using the charging infrastructure, and we see some of the Cybertrucks stored. A great view of this east side looking back towards the multi-level parking garage as well. Now on the left-hand side of the screen is the East Warehouse on Wheels, And you can tell that this large open section has got fencing around it now, and I think that it will be expanding that warehouse on wheels to the north into that section, and the employee overflow lot is shrinking because now we have the multi-level parking garage. As we fly along the west side of the die shop, I wanted to give you a good view of this entire west section and some of the materials that are being stored here, including those black items, which I thought were pipes. They are not. They're more like sort of like planks or maybe something that's assembled, and I'll have to watch and see when that actually happens. On the center of the screen, on the ground, we see 4 concrete panels. Those are wall panels, and those may be related to what we are seeing going on the east side of the cathode plant. And as I fly up over the roof section, I wanted to, look and see what the roof repairs look like, no real change, and also look up to the northeast to see what that clearing location looks like, the rental equipment lot, and where all the materials are being stored in that large open field. As I turn back towards the battery cathode plant and the cell test lab on the left, I will pull away just to get a little lower and take a look at some of the materials that are stored here. No real change. Those cylindrical steel silver items are still waiting for movement inside. Also the red and white gantry crane, which is waiting for its time to be moved inside as well. Now, an interesting event going on here next to the Wade pit. It looks like there's some sort of either demonstration or maybe discussion going on with the vehicles that have had crash testing. And this is what it looks like. I'll zoom in so you get a better view of some of the activity. But clearly they are talking about that one Cybertruck and maybe the aftermath of the crash, or maybe some additional information. If you happen to know what this is, again, let me know in the comments of the video. But I thought this was a really interesting development. As I mentioned, the east side of the cathode plant has got these temporary wall panels and other panels missing. I think those are where those concrete panels we saw on the west side would go. And here's a great view of the crash test facility and some of the vehicles still parked around that have gone through crash testing. This facility has been very busy over the last several months, and particularly in the last month. So additional testing of some sort is continuing. So here's a great view of the east side and the crash test facility on the right. You can see that crash wall and, of course, some of the materials that are still stored here in the middle section. As we wrap around to the south end of the die shop on the left and the cathode building on the right, we can see there's a trailer with a bunch of pipes going into that south end and a delivery that is underway right now. Also, we can see that there is continued work on the chilling plant and those augmentation units, the generators, and some of those kind of cooling units, the mobile cooling units. And also on the north side, this clearing location where I think we're going to see expansion. And the reason why I think that, in addition to all of these temporary items, is that those large pipes at the end have those blank panels or cutoff points. And that indicates that we'll probably see those pipes extend further to the north at some point. But there's a great view of how that chilling plant looks here today. Now we're going to bring the drone up to a higher altitude. I'm going to fly over the Martin Marietta batch plant that is still operational. And I want to get a good look at what is going on the south end of the electrical switch yard. I noticed this soil test rig that was underway here, and they are actually drilling some of those core samples. One of the gentlemen is excited about what's going on, so he'll give us a little bit of a dance, but The whole purpose of this is that they are doing some core samples of this location so they can take that information back, test it, and give it to the civil engineers that are designing whatever is going to be built here so that they know that the soil strength is as what they need or if they need to do any additional reinforcement. We can also see cables being pulled through the conduit on the left of the screen and this large open section where it's possible the third new transformer will be installed, or maybe where they're doing the soil test samples is where we're going to see additional construction for that. But all of that we've discussed previously, and that will help add additional power for the supercomputer cluster that's being installed on the south end. This is a great view of the megapacks that are operational here at Giga Texas. A new one of those red trailers has been delivered. We see a concrete truck, and I'll show you where that's being worked on right now. And we see these risers and that mud base and some additional work around the concrete vaults. And then here we see another one of the concrete trucks. It's pouring the concrete on top of the installed conduit. This is one of the last steps before they fill this back in with dirt. And then they can start running all the cables through the conduit. And this, of course, goes underneath Tesla Road. You can see the repavement all the way over to the north part of the casting machine structure, and then runs along the parapet wall the entire length of the east side down to the south end where the supercomputer cluster is located. So that'll wrap it up for the week and the last Friday of July. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great weekend.